Thank you. Senator Whitehouse.
Thank you. First, let me welcome Professor Rochman here. Thank you for your help with our, when Senator Sullivan and I did the Save Our Seas 2.0, you were helpful, and we're about to begin developing Save Our Seas 3.0, and I hope we can call on you again.
Absolutely. Thank you. My pleasure.
Terrific. And let me add to the report, if I may, Mr. Chairman, of this committee hearing, the Minderoo-Monaco Commission on Plastics and Human Health report on plastic impact on human health, published in the Annals of Global.
Without objection.
Thanks. And to Senator Mullen, let me say that I've been pushing to get a bill that would expand the use of composites in construction and infrastructure passed. The blockade against it has been on the Republican side. Perhaps we can work our way through that. If you don't mind, I will send you a copy of that bill for you to have a look at.
Love to take a look at it.
It's actually bipartisan, and I think that there's enormous progress to be made consistent with your witness's testimony. I think I'm glad we're having this hearing, because from whales found with hundreds of pounds of plastic in their bellies to babies, human babies, ingesting microplastics through their mother's milk, the waste management failure of the plastics industry is undeniable, conspicuous, and irresponsible. They barely even try, fobbing off responsibility to public recycling programs that only recycle 10% or less of what you actually get into the blue bin. Forget the rest of it. The stuff you actually get into the blue bin is barely recycled at all. There's a recurring problem here. I have colleagues who tend to like market theory in principle. In practice, not so much, particularly not where the fossil fuel industry or the plastics industry are concerned. For fossil fuel and plastics, Congress usually encourages them to privatize profits and socialize their costs onto everybody else. For fossil fuel, the negative externality is carbon emissions, which we allow them to pollute for free to the tune of about $600 billion a year worth of harm, according to the International Monetary Fund. And in plastics is this absolute plague of plastic waste that is out there, for which the industry takes minimal responsibility. I think, as best I understand it, the high point of plastics industry responsibility has been set by a company called Unilever, which has a pledge that as of 2025, for every pound of plastic they put out into the economy, they will recover and responsibly dispose of a pound of plastic from the environment, which essentially means going plastics neutral, which is terrific. And by virtue of bringing that plastic back out, there's no way to bring the plastic back out of the environment without spending money to do so. So that actually puts a price on waste plastic collection, which can have very, very significant value, particularly in very low-income countries where the ability to meet Unilever's demand for those pounds, millions of pounds of plastic waste they'll have to be bringing out of the environment in order to meet their pledge, will actually provide some meaningful revenue. So there are ways to go forward. The plastics industry has begun to take this seriously, but it's baby steps at this point when you look at the unbelievable flow of plastic waste, particularly into our oceans. So I look forward to continuing to work on this problem. Conservative market economics, a la Milton Friedman, ought to be something Democrats and Republicans can agree on. Keeping this material out of our precious lakes and rivers and streams. There was actually a scientific experiment that was testing the rain in Colorado, and the results were weird. So they went back to retest, and they found microplastics falling in the rain in Colorado. It's a long way from the oceans. So it's terrific to have this hearing. I look forward to working with the panel and working with your subcommittee chairman to get our arms around this before we are completely drowned and gagging in plastic waste, both macro and micro.
Thank you, Senator Whitehouse, and thank you for your going in depth into this really significant